Hello everyone and welcome to the next breakdown video for the years of 2313 all the way up to year 2424, and a lot has happened in the 115 years between breakdowns. As you can see, the galaxy is a lovely border gory mess of empires and fractured federations and all kinds of wonderful, glorious chaos, just like any good D&D campaign should have. We are going to start in... well, we'll start in the same place with the Dawai Union, who unfortunately, although they are doing their best with building these Dyson swarms and these art furnaces and doing all of their little explorations and building up, the Dawai Union unfortunately just doesn't. I mean, it not much it can do. Its economy, Simus. If you can't afford the art furnace and the Dyson swarms, buddy, don't have them. You're selling 150 food, and you're still minus 299? Oh, buddy. Oh, bless Simus. It must suck to be stuck, but at the same time, the Marauders are the only thing holding back the cubes, which are absolutely terrifying, which we will get into very, very shortly. Imagine if this is imagine if this is the Khan as well. Just how much that would suck being stuck behind them all of this time. Limited knowledge from like broken reports and little bits of gossip, and then all of a sudden the Khan spawns on your doorstep. That would be absolutely hilarious. But anyway, the gelatinous tubes. What can I say about these tubes? They are eating. They are nom-nom-nomming. Very strong alloy production. Strong science. But as you can see, they are also making the same mistakes as everyone who thinks too big, because not only do you have you've had issues with the Guardians, you have decided you've been making threatening gestures, I think, to the Fractured Hive, which is why the Hive have come along and decided to teach you a lesson. You are down to 67k fleet power. Having said that, that's still a lot. You are still very powerful. Easily, probably, before these guys got involved, you were easily the powerhouse in this galaxy. And as you folks at home can see, the Plupple having all of this territory in the last session, in our first war, my Federation was so confident that we could do the same again that they started a second war. And it was disastrous. The Plupple systems all over the place with interspersing gelatinous tube systems, not only on the outskirts of the territory they'd taken before, but in the Plupple home systems themselves. They've lost territory, they've lost shape, they've lost formation, they've lost fleets, they've lost everything. The Plupple looking very, very delicate right now, split apart by the gelatinous tube's ravenous hunger. That also extends into Sabus's, Nature's Union of Aru. Nature's Union have suffered. They've lost so much territory, planets, population, ships, resources, gateways, catapults, wormholes, everything has been lost. And they have been split in twain by the gelatinous tubes. My Federation is looking awfully, awfully weak and tasty at the moment, which is why, with my empire, I have invested heavily in citadels, in defensive platforms, on every single border of my empire. Aside from this one, which is bordering my vassal, I need to work on that because I can't trust the hedge enemy, which we'll get into. Coming down, but because the tubes are spread so far south, they've spread so far south into contact with the Flumph. Even the Illithid empires had to get involved to try and beat back these tubes. When the Illithids start to help out the wider galaxy, You know it's for their own twisted reasons, but you also know that things are bad. But we'll get to this in a second, because this is this whole other thing down here. But especially here, my citadels are being beefed up with defensive platforms, the odd iron cannon here and there, because this will be the main way into my empire. Because for the first time in a CCG, I don't have any weird wormholes, gateways, L gates, just a myriad of different ways to enter my empire without going through my initial borders. So I can actually invest heavily in these border defenses. And unless they jump in, as you can see, I'm working on my hyper relay stuff. We're working on getting that network sorted out so that we can move easily in our empire. I don't know if I have. Yes, I do have metastructures. We're researching the science nexus. I'm sure gateway construction will come under that as well at some point, because there are great distances, even with hyper relays. We need to be able to react instantly between our star bases. So yeah, that's fine. I have created another vassal with another subjugation war with the Phoenix hegemony. Completely forgot to take their capital and their other planets, so we made another little vassal. But the capitalistic space hamsters use this opportunity to go to war with the Phoenix hegemony. That also means they've brought in the Cult of Aboleth, but the Cult of Aboleth at the moment are suffering because they've had an uprising from the Sindarian nation, who are obviously sick to death with the Aboleth's psionic manipulations and manipulating where their what their species look like and how they progress, and have actually risen up against the Cult of Aboleth. So they're fighting their own internal civil war, which the Flumps have used to their advantage on their way to warring the Cult of Aboleth. They've taken a lot of territory away from them as well, which brings them a little bit closer to the cubes, which means they might have to do something about the cubes sooner than later, which will mean bringing in the Myconoi blossoming and other vassals or other Federation friends as well. Speaking of Federations, the Galactic Guardian Front Gaming Brain is doing really, really well in this lower half of the galaxy, but like every AI or like every player, when you invest in one war, one place, they're gonna try and bite you in the ass in the other place, in the other side. The Cult of Aboleth actually taking a lot of territory away from this, swing that balance of power, that balance of war, that war exhaustion into potentially their favour. But the Space Hamsters and the Guardian Front should have this. Terrible Hamster and Gaming Brain should put Darkest Demon's empire to bed, I think, either as a vassal or as a conqueror. I think their time is limited. Speaking of limited time, the Cult of Aboleth suffering. With one Federation mate gone, the Cult of Aboleth could well fall into being someone else's vassal if they want to mess around with those psionic powers, or they could just be consumed and integrated by the Flump and various other empires as well to do their own bidding, to utilize their resources for their own. The Myconoi blossoming are blossoming. They don't have much to do as a vassal, with the Flump single-handedly holding back both the Illithids and the Chosen. The Chosen are scary. So as you've noticed, or may have noticed, we had our first casualty. Cinder, Elm Creek and the Feywild no longer exist, which was a massive shame, because even though they were a vassal under the Cult of Aboleth, the Feywild had sworn secret fealty to me, and I was doing my best to subvert their relationship with their overlord, so I could try and take them for my own, so I could bring the Feywild into the loving embrace of the Draboran Empire and our Federation maybe as well, and that would have given us another powerful ally to fight against the cubes. Unfortunately, the cubes got there first before any of that could manifest itself into reality, and so Cinder Elm Creek was the first empire we lost, first player empire that we have officially lost, and it's very sad. But thank you, Cinder, for submitting the Feywild. They were good, they were very powerful at one point, and they were in the grip of the cults, and they just unfortunately weren't able to break that hold. But I mentioned the Chosen because, as you can see as well, the Drunken Unicorn and the Circle of the Land have been obliterated by the Chosen. They are no more. 2 empires, 1 stone. and the Chosen are now firmly in this part of the galaxy. They are so out of their little wormhole system, and now rivaling the cubes. If the cubes hadn't pissed off that many fallen empires, the Chosen and the cubes would be rivaling each other in power. But as you can see, the cubes have 67k at the moment in terms of fleet power. The Chosen, nearly 200,000 fleet power at their disposal, double what I've got, 50k more than the Flumph, and literally over 150k more than everyone else. So you can start to see who these Guardians of the Galaxy, to use that term, are. It is the Flumph, myself, and the various vassals and federations that make up our power and economy. The Chosen have really only one way to go, 3 ways to go, sorry. They can go into the Illithid Empire. The Illithids themselves are at the moment warring the cubes, which is why they're down here, because they've taken territory. The Illithids, as far as I understand as well, are fairly friendly with everyone. They weren't friendly with Daz and the Circle of the Land, but they're not there anymore. So now they just have the choice of outright war against the Chosen, which would be incredibly dangerous. Not because I don't think they could hold their own. They do have 46k of fleet power, but if the Chosen decided anything now to attack, they have no fleets in their home system. Everything is being poured into this cube fight. So it's interesting to see if that gamble will pay off, and if having a foothold in this and extra territory and planets will mean a better economy, more fleet. Maybe they'll want to start looking at the Gold Hoarders. The Gold Hoarders have had a rough time. They've waged so many wars with the Plupples and the gelatinous cubes that the Gold Hoarders are under at the moment, fighting for their existence. The fact that these fallen empires got involved with the gelatinous cube, I think, has bought the Kundarak time. The Gold Hoarders have got time to build their fleets, to try and join in this war as well, to take territory. It's just that they're so weakened by their previous ongoing long wars that I don't know if they'll be able to. I genuinely don't know if they'll be able to. The Chosen then, with the Illithids on the table, could also go through the Commonwealth here, which are a bulwark under the Flumph. It's a 2-system jump into Flumph territory. But it's not just a 2-system jump into Flumph territory. It's 2-system jump into all of this part of the galaxy. Yes, they came here, and actually it was actually thanks to the Chosen that those hatchlings were dealt with. Without the Chosen, I think those hatchlings would have been impossible or very difficult to beat for our Federation. So the Holy Modron Conclave, which is a split-off part of the Modrons themselves, who we lost as well, I'm afraid to say. Imhas, I think, actually was the first person to leave the galaxy. The hatchlings took over everything. But since the hatchlings' job was done, I think the Chosen came in either through a portal or just spent the influence to get here and now have a little of the Modron homeworld and a little bit of they do have the wormhole, the Modron wormhole. I think they have access to one of them in the strange wormhole over here. So that's how they got in. I think the Chosen will be well poised to maybe fight a very, very weakened Sacred Coalition Federation members. It'll be an interesting gambit, but I think it might be their most appealing one because the Flumph are too powerful, I think, to take on by themselves with the might of the Myconids and other vassal members as well. So the Illithids are an option. I don't think the Flumps are. And if we go north, we have our 5th casualty. We've had Imhas with the Modrons, Cinder with the Feywild, Dazzle Me Bro with the Drunken Unicorns, and Design Storm with the Circle of the Land. We also had Shaq with the Barrow as well. The Barrow had a torrid life up here in the Galactic North, with just fighting. It's just fighting all of the time. Uprisings upon uprisings. And unfortunately for the Barrow, the Favarian Confederation, the people that rose up against Shaq the first time, were able to take over the White's home system, and the Barrow itself fell, and Shaq's empire fell into the Confederation. The Pyrodraconic Dominion which I said was going to be a powerhouse of an empire, could not get its house in order. I begged Corset's empire to colonize some of those worlds that we saw before. All of those like 5 or 6 worlds that they had like 80 to 100% habitability with. I was like, just onto those, just colonize those, and build up your fleets, build up your economy. You can't just rely on taking planets from primitives or taking planets from other empires. You're going to suffer those culture shocks, and you may well be surprised by the empire that comes out. And I was 100% correct. They beat the blessed Alabanaran Federation to begin with. They were reduced to a very small pocket of systems, but they came back stronger than ever and have actually vassalized their previous overlords, and in turn have taken possession of the Dwarven state and Darn's empire over here. And the White Administration and the Favarian Confederation could well be the next ones on the list for vassalization if the Confederation over here remain unchecked. However, because of all that infighting and uprisings and the toll it takes on not just your fleet but your economy over the course of those years, the Chosen should be poised just to push north if they want easier, juicier targets. If they want to really bring the galaxy to heel, and under one rule, then they could easily just flow north, and I don't think they would suffer too much in the way of resistance from these broken, fractured fragments of former empires. They may well come under scrutiny from the fallen empire here, as they have shown they are not above getting involved with empires who think too high and mighty of themselves. But if the Chosen want to take that risk, and I think the Chosen, with that fleet power, they could be cocky enough to think, hey, we can hold our own if you decide to try and teach us a lesson. So, yeah, 5 empires out in one session, 5 player empires out in one session, and the BBGs are poised to take the fight to the rest of the galaxy. The Chosen have a pocket in a disorganized Federation space. The Cubes are well in. Yes, they're suffering a humiliation war at the moment, but I don't think that's going to dissuade them. We saw how quickly they built up before, and the ramifications of that is all of this juicy border door over here. And the Chosen being a powerhouse in their own section of the galaxy, along with their home system, which as of yet has been untouched. The BBGs are poised to make some significant gains in this galaxy. It worries me that the fate of this part of the galaxy could fall to the Flumph and the Illithids. I don't want to cheer the Illithids on, but if the Illithids are going to make a move against the Cubes and the Chosen, then it's hard not to like them. They could probably use this as political leverage as well, if they wanted to say, hey, we've done a pretty good job so far. Why don't you let us sort out everything else? So, yeah, it is an incredibly delicate time. It's going to be wild to see what happens in the next session. Will the galaxy sort its shit out, or are we going to succumb to the Devouring Swarm and the Chosen? I don't know. I think the main hope we have are the Flumph, my broken Federation, and this Federation down here between Gaming Brain and Terrible Hamster. I think those could be the bastions of hope for this galaxy. I can't wait to see what happens next. Find out in the next episode of D&D CCG Breakdown.